Hey guys, welcome to Hannah Not Banana. I am Hannah Rachel Rogers, and please don't mind the low lighting. I am breaking out and my makeup looks really bad because I put it on in about 5 minutes. I kind of rushed together to do this video because I had the idea for it, because my friend Rex gave me the idea. He didn't mean to, but he did. Because whenever I tell him, oh, I ship whatever, he says, ugh, you just want everyone to be gay. And it got me thinking, why are the majority of my ships gay? I kind of thought long and hard about this while I was at work and on the car on the way home from work. And the first thing that I thought of was relatability. As someone who is part of the queer community, I find it easier to relate to people who are also part of the queer community. And when a character is highly relatable, I find that I project onto that character. So I'm like, oh, I feel like I am this character. I relate to this character. And somewhere in that relating process, it turns the character gay for me. Because as I am relating, I am synonymizing myself with the character. So when I find a character highly relatable, I also find them homosexual. The second thing that I thought about was representation, because as someone who is queer, I look for a representation of myself in media where it isn't, all the time. Because there is some phenomenal media out there, like take the MCU. That is truly, like, that is a masterpiece of cinema. The entire thing. I love the entire concept behind it, and the characters are outstanding. And none of them are actually queer. And except Loki's queer now. He's gender fluid, which is fantastic. It's about fucking time. But I found myself looking for representation in the MCU, and I personally related a lot to Tony Stark as a character. For a whole lot of reasons that we're not going to get into, because and I related to him a whole lot. And so I wound up shipping him with Steve Rogers. Now, this isn't a shipping war. It's not about who you do or don't ship. This is about why homosexual ships are found more relatable by people who are in the queer community. And because I related so much to Tony Stark, I viewed him as queer. I viewed him as probably bisexual. And you can sort of headcanon any character as queer, because it's not like characters in media are coming out as straight. You know, you can be like, oh, this character is straight, and it's like, well, they've only been depicted in straight relationships. I am female presenting, at least. And if I am dating a man, it appears to pretty much everyone that we are in a heterosexual relationship. But it does not change the fact that I am not heterosexual. And then I thought about, well, why don't I necessarily ship the queer content that it has been given to me? A whole lot of queer content is made by people who are not queer. It's fantastic that they are trying, but sometimes it is not as relatable. Oftentimes, lesbian couples are very sexualized. I feel that often gay, like male and male homosexual relationships are often very stereotypical, and I don't know, that just sort of rubs me wrong. And there are huge exceptions to this, and the big one that I am going to name is the entire She-Ra television show. It was queer representation that felt like queer representation, and it was phenomenal. 10 out of 10. Would recommend. If you have not seen that and you are queer and you're looking for relatable queer content, that show is for you. Oh my god. The fourth thing that I thought about was actually heteronormativity. And by heteronormativity, I mean the assumption that everyone is heterosexual. And I find that this harms certain heterosexual couples that are in fiction. It's like the Disney princess principle, where it's like a boy and a girl met and now they're gonna get married. Like, they saw each other, love at first sight, and there's no development. It's this, like, oh, well, she was a boy, he was a girl. If you really get your audience invested in the relationship and build it up over time and show them coming together as individuals and as friends before they, hop into bed together or whatever, it really elevates the story. And that is why gay couples work better, because when two people of the same gender are in a television show and the creators, authors, whatever, are trying to develop a friendship, they work so much harder at creating that friendship, at creating this dynamic between the two of them. There is no assumption that they will fall in love. And so they have to build that relationship from the ground up. I'm going to come back to Steve and Tony, actually, when I'm talking about this, because the relationship between Steve and Tony in the MCU and in Marvel Comics altogether has been just so fraught. It's fueled the MCU, like, it truly has. Like, from the first Avengers film all the way until, like, the last Avengers film. I'm okay. Their relationship evolves and builds to the point where, like, it is so complex and connected. Like, we go from we really don't like each other to, oh, maybe we're kind of friends, and like, wow, I think you're an idiot, and like all this different stuff, and then like I really care about you, but I really disagree with your principles and what you're doing right now, to putting all of that aside and trusting each other completely by the end. That is so much better than boy meets girl, kiss, marriage, baby. It's so much better. Not all relationships have to be built out in conflict, like Steve and Tony's. That is a relationship dynamic that I happen to enjoy, but there's other relationships out there that, like, their dynamic is not antagonistic at all. I think the one that immediately comes to mind for me is Haru and Makoto from Free Iwatobi Swim Club, Free Eternal Summer, Free Dive to the Future, whatever. They are never antagonistic towards each other, but their relationship builds and builds and builds because there is conflict around them, not between the two of them necessarily, but the world is bringing them conflict that they're having to deal with and cope with together. And that's super cool. I really like that. Now you may be thinking, like, well, if this is your big thing, then why don't you ship straight couples? And I do. There are straight couples that I ship so much. And the biggest one is Rose and the Doctor. And that's Rose and the 9th Doctor and the 10th Doctor, because, the 11th Doctor kind of just forgot about Rose. But Rose and the Doctor is a relationship that is built over episode after episode after episode of them experiencing things together and learning things together and fighting things together, and that is outstanding. I love that. I think that the way that they built up those characters is what every heterosexual relationship in media should strive for. I think that is the perfect example of a heterosexual relationship that really, really works. And it's proof that you can do it. You don't need to be, Disney in the 60s. You can be whoever you want to be in the now. You can have your representation, and you can have heterosexual couples that represent what relationships are actually like. And Disney has been striving for that a little bit. They've kind of taken a step back from like, well, we're gonna just have them not interact at all. We're just gonna have them like sing a song together and then fall in love. And there's a lot of commentary about that in Frozen with, love is an open door and all that. And then in Tangled, they actually, I think, gave it 3 days for them to fall in love. And even after they fell in love, it's said that it takes years before they actually get married. So Disney is definitely striving to have more realistic relationships in its media. But that is the biggest reason why most of my ships are homosexual or queer in some way. Because those relationships are built up in their stories in a way that the heterosexual relationships just aren't. And that is that. I just kind of flew back here and I was like, I have an idea for a video. I'm gonna throw on makeup and sit in low lighting so no one can see how badly I did my makeup and just rant at the camera. So that's what I did. I thought that this would be a nice video to put up for Pride Month. Speaking of, happy Pride, guys. It is fantastic that you are all still here. We love each other very much. This was just kind of a last-minute video that I wanted to film before I went to bed. I love you guys so much. Happy Pride. Stay safe, and I will see you next time. Whee!